Hi, families. Today I'm on here talking to you about why I feel spelling instruction is a crucial part to your child's reading success. And I'm literally speaking from my own personal experiences, the things that I've seen both as a classroom teacher and now as a private reading, writing, and spelling instructor, and why I think that spelling instruction can really speed up your child's reading progress. And it really comes back to that whole issue of phonics. When we're teaching children specific spelling patterns, they begin to recognize those patterns and those sounds when they're writing them, and it translates into their reading. And then vice versa, when we're teaching reading instruction, they're learning what that word should look like when it's spelled. And it's like this cycle that they get on, and then their brain starts to register. So I'd like to talk to you about a few examples of the power of spelling instruction and how that can move kids forward with their reading. Now, I've got one student well, I've got several students that are dyslexic, but one student recently started in my program. And this student is upper middle grades and has really been struggling to read, write, and spell. And his mom reached out to me and says, we really need some help. I think you're the right person. And we started working. It was a little bumpy at first for him because he was a little bit hesitant. But as he continued to work with me, he really started to see that when we were working on the phonics, like just looking at the word and deconstructing it to make the sounds and go through all of the patterns that I use with kids to teach them how to read. And then we did it in reverse with the spelling. It just suddenly clicked for him, and he is having more success with his independent reading at school. He still is not a completely independent reader. Okay. He hasn't worked with me long enough to see that type of progress yet, but he is able to read much more independently than what he was able to do before. And he's also able to write much more, number one, legibly, because I'm having him practice his letters, just the basic way to form letters, so his penmanship. And we're working on manuscript right now, but we will be working on cursive as well in the future. And then he is working on spelling with me as well. And I started to use a program that adapts to the kids. And he is just so excited about spelling now because he has met with some amazing success. And I think when we really reevaluate how we're teaching spelling to kids, and then it becomes this adaptive thing for them based on spelling patterns that they know or they don't know and they need to learn, that actually moves them faster through the process. Now, I'm a 100% online tutor. If I was in person, I would have my students spend much more time physically writing down the words. But because most of my students only see me for approximately a half hour to 45 minutes, and if they're younger, they're usually only with me for 20 minutes, it limits our time. So we don't get in as much handwriting as I would like to get in. But if my parents have the list that is generated, and if they'll take the extra step to sit down with their child or have their child practice them on paper as well outside of our time, using the techniques that we use to study those words off of the software program that I have, they're going to see a lot of success. And that particular student that I'm talking to you about, the parents are 100% in, so's the child, and this child is just like blossoming in front of our eyes. So that is a true testament to having systems in place as the tutor, but then also being the parent who is really committed to seeing the success of their child and really spending a lot of time with their child to move them forward as quickly as possible. Because once you get into fifth grade, if you're, even a year behind, and this student was like almost 4 years behind, where they need to be in reading and writing and spelling, and they're probably now only maybe 3 years behind right now, but we have a long way to go to get caught up. They start to see success and then they get excited. So like I said, when the tutor has the systems in place and the parents are on board, we can see that improvement so much faster. Now, I want to go to a student that I had today just a little bit ago. We just ended up our lesson about 15 minutes ago. And this student's been with me for a number of years. And this student has some underlying issues that create some anxiety. They have ADHD, and they also have some autistic tendencies, which really kind of he feels very frustrated in the classroom because it goes really, really quickly. But he's learned that even with me, I can go quickly, but it's not so fast that he can't stay caught up. And he's gone from being a way below reader. Like when I started working with him 3 years ago, he was just not even kindergarten level reading. And now he's past his grade level. He's a fifth grader. He reads probably sixth grade level, and he can answer comprehension questions and do very well verbally. But the writing is still the problem. So we're still continuing to work on the writing and the spelling. So when he has those things in the classroom that support him in his classroom, for like, a lot of times he'll type and he can choose the correct word, but doing it independently is a little bit more difficult. So I recently, like I said, purchased this software, and he is going through the same thing that my prior student is going through and meeting with a lot of success as well. And when they see that they can spell words correctly and get many in a row spelled correctly before they get one that they can't spell correctly, they feel very, very successful, and it's highly motivating. And again, with him, I would like to spend more time sitting down, writing them out, doing all of that. But again, I'm not sitting with him. So then the next step has to come from at home, where you have the list and you're physically writing it down. Some of my students work very, very quickly. I've got another dyslexic student who is in second grade, and she just buzzes through everything and even has time to write the words multiple times. So that processing speed also makes a difference as well, and having the ability to hear the sounds. It is very interesting how some of my dyslexic students can actually hear the sounds quite well, but they'll mix them up in the order that they have to go in, and then we have to systematically sound them out and kind of say, well, what was the sound that you heard? Let's put them in the right order, and put a blank for each sound that you heard or each syllable that you heard, and let's hear those individual letter sounds and get them written down. So there is help for spelling, there is help for reading, there is help for writing. I have been working with students for many, many years in the classroom and now outside of the classroom as well. I'm here to help. If you have any questions, make sure that you head on over to tutoringwithcheryl.tutorbird.com. Use my contact form. I'll get you on my calendar and we can get started right away. You guys make it a great day. And as usual, keep the learning going.